The Last Prince, created by New York Times best-selling author Patrick Larkin. Chapter 5, Mustering Armies, Part 1. Previously in The Last Prince, fresh from his victory over the rebellious Celts, Nikanor appeared before the Roman Senate and won it over. After swearing their allegiance as they had to his father Alexander, the senators pledged 2 legions to his cause. The Senate elected one of its members, Marcus Valerius Maximus, to command the first legion assigned to Nikanor's army. As a young man, he had led troops against Alexander, but had reconciled himself to Macedonian rule. Within days, the first legionaries summoned to the standards, raw recruits and veterans alike, were arriving at Rome from the outlying villages, farms and towns. Assigned to maniples by income, personal weapons and armor and age, they formed up day after day to march out to the burgeoning camps outside the city. Nikanor and Valerius Maximus made a concerted effort to observe these new soldiers as they paraded out of Rome to the field of Mars. At the head of each column came groups of velites, the poorest, least well-equipped and youngest men expected to act as skirmishers.
These young skirmishers of yours, they're integrated into the Legion's frontline infantry maniples?
Not tactically. In battle, they harass the enemy, screening the rest of the Legion. Every man carries 5 light javelins. When those are gone, or the enemy attacks,
They fall back, withdrawing safely through the gaps left between the Legion's deployed maniples.
exactly. And then the Legion's first line advance into action, fighting in close order.
Nikanor and Maximus turned to watch the first maniples of Hastati approach. These were the younger, lighter-armored soldiers who made up the Legion's first line. The 2 commanders observed carefully as each newly formed maniple passed in review. Next came the troops who made up the Legion's second line, the Principes, older than the Hastati and more heavily equipped. When needed, they could replace first-line units worn down by casualties or exhaustion. At the rear of each column were the Triarii, the oldest and most experienced men in the Legion, some in their 40s and early 50s.
These Triarii are tough-looking soldiers. Older than usual perhaps, but certainly used to war.
They are indeed. They are the backbone of the Legion. Not exactly spry, but rock solid. Saying, "the battle came down to the Triarii," is the very definition of a desperate fight. The gods know. I heard that adage often during our war against your father.
If it's any consolation, my father said his campaigns here were the most difficult he ever waged. Fighting his allies seems more sensible.
It does indeed. I only hope we have time to train the legions up to the old standards, and that the rest of Italy joins us.
So do I, Maximus. Which is why Aristides, Quintus and I set out tomorrow on separate journeys to potential allies.
Aristides rode to Neapolis, south of Rome, with orders to the Macedonian garrison there to send part of its phalanx regiment to the field army. He led 500 troops out of the city on the return march, enough to replace the losses suffered in the Celt ambush weeks before. Quintus made the arduous trek to Tarentum to recruit soldiers from the Greek cities of southern Italy. Lured by pay and by loyalty to a son of Alexander, contingents of mercenary troops and native-born hoplites arrived day after day. Nikanor chose the hardest task, traveling into the rough country inhabited by the Samnite tribes, longtime foes of Rome, only grudgingly at peace. There he met with the nobles of the 4 tribes, the Herpini, Caudini, Caracini, and Pentri, urging them to join his forces. Standing aside, he warned, would only mean becoming weaker as Rome and the other powers of Italy profited from his victory. The argument was long, but in the end, the Samnites agreed to join him. Their warriors would march to Rome. Over the next several days, heavily armed bands began descending out of the uplands. They swelled the ranks of the thousands of soldiers already encamped around the field of Mars. As Nikanor's army grew stronger with every passing week, word of it soon reached hostile ears across the Adriatic in Greece. Nikanor's half-brother, Herakles, now controlled most of Greece and Macedon. Greatly troubled by the news, he secretly summoned 2 trusted loyalists. Part of Corinth's ruling oligarchy, Xenocles and Callias were deeply ambitious and utterly unscrupulous. Both had political and commercial ties to southern Italy.
I have a task for you two. It won't be easy. It won't be safe. But if you succeed, you can name your own price.
Name our own price, great king? Tempting indeed. What is it that you wish of us?
I want you to go to Italy, posing as representatives of a disgruntled faction in Corinth. There, worm your way into Nikanor's inner circle. Dangle the offer of bringing your city to his side, along with all its ships.
Easily accomplished, sire. We can play the part of conspirators in our sleep. But then what?
Kill him, or have him killed. By poison or dagger, perhaps. The means doesn't matter to me, but I want Nikanor dead, and soon. I have troubles enough with my other brothers in the east. I don't want to be always looking over my shoulder to the west.
The death of a prince? No simple task indeed. One worth many other lives, I think.
You want others killed? Very well. Name them. Many of our fellow oligarchs stand between us and greater power in Corinth. Done. Rid me of Nikanor, and their heads will fall.
Xenocles and Callias departed. Nikanor's death was now their sole focus.